Hi everyone, it's Dave. So, first day of 2023, and I hope it brings only good things for you and your families and for all of us. We are living in an exceptionally interesting period of time. This epoch in which we find ourselves existing in, caught between two ages, really, and struggling to understand what our what our aims are as Western societies, what our direction should be, struggling to solve the very many problems that we do face as a society. Primarily, I think at its core, relating to certainly our relationship with technology and how much that's atomized us. Also, our attitude towards and our relationship towards authority is another big one, and our relationship to God and science, and also our ability to be able to use words to explore our worlds and to better understand each other. And that's just a few of the really, really big challenges that we all face as, I don't know, modern Western societies. We are living in a very confused world, a very fearful world, a very fractured world, a world where there's a lot of inertia as well as instability. A world where many people have lost confidence in themselves. Many countries have lost confidence in themselves, and what it provides for those who choose to seize it, I believe, is an opportunity to show real leadership that maybe in other ages the opportunity wouldn't be there to the same extent. We live in an age that requires real courage, leadership, bravery, authenticity, humility, and I see no real, I really see no other way. So, who knows what this year is going to bring? Who knows what the next few years are going to bring? We know it's going to be challenging. Take that as read. But there's certainly the chance for all who are strong enough, I guess, who are brave enough to seize the initiative to be trailblazers in their own unique, however small way, and to really do all we can to craft the direction of the society that we wish to create and inhabit and live in and enjoy living in. So that's what I want to say about this year and what's to come. Secondly, I also want to take the opportunity to say thanks to everybody who's helped me along the way. I have had many struggles, not just in the last few years, but I think it might be a common factor to all of those who are sensitive to the realities of the world. A lot of us have some real struggles. We see the darkness and the tragedy as well as the light. Some of us see that more than the hope and the light, and it can be a burden, really. And I know many people do feel that, a burden to really see and feel the evil that's pervading the world at the moment. So I have my struggles, absolutely, but I've also learned about myself that I'm very, very resilient and resourceful, and I know that a lot of you are as well. Which is why ultimately, that going back to what I was talking about a couple of minutes ago about creating and crafting and imagining a better society, for all of our flaws, and I've got many, we will eventually get there, because we are our spirit and our sense of I don't know, I guess historical responsibility is so pronounced that it cannot be it cannot be broken. You know, I see I see a lot of resolve, a lot of strength, as well as I talk a lot about the cowardice and the neuroses of society in general. It's also important for me to point out that I really do see the real strong characters out there as well. I've got them in my own life, and I really take heed from them and take inspiration from them, particularly with regard to achieving a level of equilibrium, psychological and emotional kind of equilibrium, which I talked about with Paul on the last podcast we did. If you scroll back a couple of videos, and you can listen to that and my take on how to achieve a healthy balance and Paul's take on it as well. That's my main challenge for this year, is to try to restore some healthy balance emotionally, psychologically, well, definitely emotionally and psychologically and spiritually as well. So I guess honesty is another one of those big priorities, is real honesty about, and that relates to humility and introspection about, well, okay, we can all acknowledge the world's not in a good place at the moment. In fact, it's in a very, very bad and awful place right now. But I guess the greatest strength that we can draw is always to go back to, okay, right, how am I approaching this situation? How am I interacting with this situation? Am I choosing to be overly negative? Am I injecting as much positive energy as I can, or is it sometimes easier just to go, do you know what, everything's messed up and I can only see the bad stuff? So this is me at the start of 2023, really just trying to be honest with myself, I guess. But going back to, want to say thanks to all the people who've helped me, all the people who've subscribed to the channel, who've commented on my videos. A number of you I'm in personal touch with as well. First of all, the intelligence of, I love the channel that I've got and the community around it, because it is one really based on insight and intelligence and good conversation, really creative interaction, and exploring ourselves and our world in a philosophical way, So I really value everybody who's contributed in any way to the channel. I know I've just woke up this morning to have a number of new subscribers, about 25 new subscribers. So welcome to anybody who's watching me for the first time. I really appreciate if you have subscribed or left me a comment or a like. I basically just try to I don't know. I just look at the world and talk about what I see, and it's quite easy a lot of the time to just comment on how insane everything is. But I try to. The central core of what I do is to what extent is the individual, the concept, the sovereignty, the essence of the individual under threat in a world that has veered wildly off course and has tended or has embraced ideology rather than ideas, a world that has lost its connection to God and spirituality, a world that has contracted its thinking and morals out to the state and to the usual suspects, big corporate interests, and we all know who they are. So that's what I try and talk about. Hence the name, the imperfect individual, and I do try to celebrate imperfection as well. That's why you'll often hear me talking about, well, how imperfect and flawed I am, but I believe that the antidote to utopia, really utopian thinking, which only ever leads to dystopia, as we've seen, the antidote to that is to celebrate imperfection, really, to celebrate mistakes, celebrate failure, celebrate how flawed we are, and I mean celebrate in a positive way by learning, and it returns us to like being grounded and humble and all those traits. So I hope you enjoyed the channel. Thanks to I think it was shared on Thomas Sheridan's community tab on his channel. I watch Thomas Sheridan regularly. He's one of my go-tos. The number of times that I've been knowing there's an issue in my head that I need to resolve, and my thinking around it's very muddied and unclear, and the number of times that I've gone to his channel and he's talked about the very thing that I've been tearing my hair about over or confused about, and provided clarity. It's unreal, it's unbelievable, and there's definitely something in that, isn't there? So thanks to Thomas Sheridan. He's probably not watching this, but if he is, thanks. But I know a number of my subscribers also watch his content as well, so I guess there's a bit of an overlap there. Thanks to Paul as well. Paul is my co-host on our podcast, which you can subscribe to by clicking the link in the description to this video. It's called An Englishman. Obviously, I'm the Englishman. An Irishman. Paul is the Irishman. And a load of bollocks. And like me, Paul is very... we're both on the same page with regard to, you know, we're not polished. We're not professional. You know, we don't have a script. We're not looking to achieve... you know, we're not ambitious and wanting to reach a massive audience or looking to achieve anything in particular other than good conversation, exploring issues, trying to resolve problems through words and through listening to each other, and of course by inviting guests on and hearing their stories. So thanks to Paul for everything he's done to support me on this channel, and also the podcast as well, that we're both really enjoying. It's great, so do subscribe to that. For anybody new, if you're interested, I have written a book. It's also called The Imperfect Individual, with the tagline, Why Our World is in Turmoil and How You Can Save It. And the you relates to each and every individual who's, you know, aware of their historic responsibility, who is, you know, is aware of the fundamental responsibility, the greatest responsibility of all, which is to leave behind a better world than the one we inherited for the next generation. I tried to explore in depth the reasons why society became so morally, intellectually and spiritually corrupted in the book, and the multifaceted reasons for that, and then offer solutions as well. So that's what the book is about. If you're interested, the link to purchase the book is in the description. Finally, so I want to say thanks finally to anybody who contributes to conversations, no matter how small, and not necessarily on this channel, not necessarily on our podcast, just in the world, because, you know, there are a scary number of people, unfortunately, who impose restrictions on conversation. The Overton window is small, in many situations, with many families, friendship groups, workplaces, across society, and that is so incredibly dangerous. Freedom of speech is something that is absolutely sacred. The freedom to speak, that's what freedom of speech is, the freedom to speak. Yet we have gone so far into censorship. We know all about the online censorship. I know all about that. I've had a lot of videos taken down. But the worst, even worse than that, there's something worse than that, and that's censorship that's imposed on those around us, on us, people who will ignore you, who will shut you down, or simply say, I don't want to talk about that, repeatedly and regularly and often. And then there's an even worse censorship than that, and this is the biggest one of all. This is the biggest danger of all, is self-censorship. If we end up in a place where we become so frustrated and we become so, well, maybe resentful, and we become so So you're utterly disheartened by the, the idea and the fact that we can't speak our minds, that we end up censoring ourselves, um, and being honest. I've censored myself too much in too many situations, and that's. I read a quote the other day. I don't know who said it. I'll try and get it right. It was something about we live in an age where we live in an age where intelligent the intelligent are silenced, so that the stupid aren't offended or aren't made to feel stupid. It was something like that. It was just pertaining to the notion that those with small minds, and they are many, are intimidated by those who can think, and their only option is to shut down debate because they cannot respond to intelligent debate. They can't have their arguments scrutinised because they don't have arguments. They don't have like any points of discussion, and that's what that is getting at. But that's not good enough, you know. It's really not. So, for anybody who is, you know, relentlessly pursuing conversation, insisting on having their voice heard, despite the pitfalls and the consequences, and they are huge. I paid a terrible price in my life in the last couple of years for speaking my mind. I really have. And for anybody who is doing that, because without conversation, without words, without the formulation of thoughts and the ability to be able to articulate and express them using something called words via something called a conversation, there's nothing for any of us. There's nothing, you know, nothing. So for anybody who's doing that, who is insisting on their right to speak, I applaud you, because as I said at the start of the video, our huge spiritual and existential issues and problems relating to who we are, where we're going, what our purpose is, what can be our unifying force, our unifying truth as a world, because every society needs something to coalesce around. Without conversation, we can't solve those problems, and we'll go deeper and deeper and deeper into the mire. So this is me acknowledging there is I've talked about it before, a moral and intellectual counter-revolution, countering the revolution that we have all been subjected to, that happened on all of our watch, and probably I certainly include, you know, myself in this. I talk about it in the book. Probably many of us over the last few decades were too complacent, you know. But that moral, spiritual, intellectual decay is from that decay, from those, you know, from that barren earth. They're not even green shoots now. A couple of years ago, we started seeing the green shoots of the, you know, the renaissance of these things that I've been talking about. It is happening now, you know. These new kind of fruits of conversation and meaning and purpose are starting to grow, and we've got to carry on nurturing them as hard as it is, you know, as we continue to undergo an unprecedented psychological attack that actually manifests for me worse, not in terms of what they do, but how it's affected society at large, and those regular small interactions or lack of interactions and conversations that are having that we have. So there we go. So thanks again to everybody who's helped me, everyone who keeps me in check, people who've been there for me just with some insightful words, if nothing else, when I need them. Because, you know, I do this channel, I try to provide in my own way, some form of leadership, and to try and solve problems my own way. But I'm not perfect, far from it. I'm the imperfect individual. I'm flawed. I can be neurotic, you know. I can let the anger and resentment get a hold of me, you know, and it's important that I realise that. And that's fine. That's fine. We just got to keep talking. So, okay, I've been talking now for about 20 minutes. Thanks again to everybody. I do hope this year brings all the best for you. And finally, let me know in the comments, particularly if you're new, what you think of this video. And I will speak to you soon. Okay, bye.